Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're firing up the musical time machine to look at a truly singular, monumental piece of pop history. We are talking about a record, a specific sound, and, honestly, a massive cultural phenomenon that completely defined an entire decade. So get ready, because we're unpacking the incredibly swift rise and absolute reign of a true musical powerhouse.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to just take a second and really imagine the 1970s. It was this incredible 10-year span packed with a massive, rapid evolution of sound. I mean, think about the fierce musical competition going on back then. You had the explosion of disco completely taking over the clubs, heavy classic rock filling massive arenas, and the deep, infectious grooves of funk and soul dominating the airwaves. When you picture that entire decade, a ton of legendary artists, massive cultural movements, and iconic tracks probably pop into your head right away, right? But out of all the thousands and thousands of tracks released during those 10 years, amidst all those heavy hitters, there is one song that stands statistically above the rest. So the question we're starting with today is simple, but it's massive. What was the absolute biggest song of the 1970s?
Section 1. The decade's biggest song. The answer to that massive question is a track that completely dominates the historical record. It's Love Will Keep Us Together. Now, really think about the sheer scale of that achievement for a second. Out of an entire decade of music, this is the giant. But why this song? Well, musically, it's basically a brilliant masterclass in pop accessibility. Originally written by Neil Sedaka, the track relies on this wonderfully upbeat, bouncy, and deceptively simple keyboard arrangement that just hooks you immediately. Pair that driving keyboard with the absolutely powerhouse vocal harmonies from Toni Tennille soaring right over the chorus, and you've got a perfect pop storm. It was completely irresistible. This wasn't just a track. It became a shared experience that literally took over everyday life for everyday music fans. Like one fan from the era noted, you couldn't walk down a street in the summer without hearing it pouring out of someone's car radio or echoing from a neighbor's backyard. It just embedded itself into the very fabric of the era.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. Captain and Tennille.
The performers who achieved this completely unprecedented reign are, of course, Captain and Tennille. Now, to really appreciate this, we have to look at the timeline of their incredibly swift rise to superstardom. The duo consisted of Daryl, the Captain, and Toni Tennille. Their story actually starts out with them as backing musicians. They actually met playing keyboards and singing for the Beach Boys in the early 1970s. Realizing they had this undeniable musical chemistry, they started performing as a duo at small local club gigs in Southern California. And man, in the blink of an eye, they went from playing these intimate lounges to signing a major record deal. When they released their debut album, it absolutely skyrocketed. Within just a few short years of meeting, they had completely transformed from background touring musicians into an international sensation, outstripping the biggest soloists and massive groups of the entire decade.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the precise moment this cultural milestone occurred, 1975, right smack in the middle of the decade. Culturally speaking, 1975 was a fascinating turning point. The world was dealing with a lot of economic anxiety and kind of the lingering heaviness of the early 70s rock scene alongside the very beginnings of underground disco. People were really craving something bright, something optimistic, and then Love Will Keep Us Together drops. It was like a burst of pure sunshine. The uplifting message and that relentless, joyful rhythm were exactly what everyday music fans needed at that exact moment. It provided an energetic escape from those heavier rock anthems and gave the entire year a surprisingly warm, hopeful soundtrack.
Section 3. Billboard Year-End Number 1.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer magnitude of holding the absolute top Billboard spot, number 1. Not just number 1 for a week or a month, but the Billboard Year-End Number 1 for 1975. But look, this ultimate metric isn't just a cold, hard statistic. It's a reflection of how deeply the music resonated with people. The reason a song that completely dominated 1975 still gets played on playlists today really comes down to the timelessness of the melody, the incredibly tight structure, the catchy hooks, and the warm analog production appeal directly to modern pop sensibilities. I mean, modern audiences still crave a great chorus they can comfortably belt out in the car, right? It's exactly what elevates the track from being just some dated chart statistic to a true, enduring classic pop anthem. So, the crucial point is how all of this comes together to form a singular, completely unassailable legacy. The title of the most successful song of the 1970s wasn't won by accident. It's the ultimate status achieved by claiming that Billboard Year-End Number 1, yes, but it represents so much more than just that. It's the culmination of Captain Tennille's swift, almost magical rise from local club performers to absolute pop icons. It's the direct result of a brilliant, simple musicality. You know, those bouncy keyboards and unforgettable vocal harmonies connecting directly with millions of everyday listeners. That Billboard data? It simply tallies the human element, the countless fans who bought the records, requested it on the radio, and found immense joy in a perfectly crafted piece of pop music.
Which leaves us with something incredibly fascinating to think about as we wrap up this explainer. If a single Billboard year-end #1 in the year 1975 statistically crowns the most successful song of the entire 1970s, how do we really measure the true weight of a decade? Does a 10-year span get defined purely by the rigid math of Billboard charts, or is the real measure found in the lasting, emotional power of a catchy pop anthem that fans are literally still singing along to 50 years later? It really makes you rethink what builds a true musical legacy, doesn't it? Is it the numbers on a page or the feeling in the groove? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep asking those big questions.